Hey guys, I went to make this podcast earlier, this little video earlier. This one goes out to everyone in corrupt Victoria. Now, this guy is a monster. Listen, no. I was, in effect, they were playing with 1984, like surveillance hacks and whatnot. In effect, I'll tell you what they were trying to do. They were trying to silence my speech. Literally, they were trying to police my speech, Michael Caleb, because my speech involved being interviewed in a criminal matter. A GEO-employed prison officer by the name of Devon Woodbourne got himself into. So what they were trying to do with the misuse of AI and AI chatbot and their drug dealing informant friends from down around St Kilda and Paran and whatnot, and I'm talking about real scumbag ones with no teeth, pimping out street women, like about as low a scumbag drug dealer as you could come across, with a corrupt bent cop. And now the same bent cop I'm referring to was in arm's reach, coincidentally, of the well-rumoured also misuse of artificial intelligence chatbot technology that was being levelled on one Gargasoulis, James Gargasoulis, I believe his name is, right before he barreled down a Burke Street Mall killing innocent people. So now you're beginning to see why they were trying to police my speech, ladies and gentlemen. That is why, if you stumbled across any of that ridiculous nonsense that they were trying to smear me with, that is why. Just so you know, okay? So now with that out there, so now you know the truth. Let's just explain something that I seem to have stumbled into being a bit of an expert on. And that is, rewind about 14 years ago. Now, I saw this beautiful aerial shot of my hometown, my birthplace, Perth. And you'll see that tunnel there, the tunnel running under that beautiful parkland. And it reminded me, angrily, there's a little bit of anger here, sorry to get rage baited, but it reminded me of how Daniel Andrews, that snide, tyrannical scumbag, who basically plundered you Victorians, plundered you to within an inch of your life through unneeded or unnecessary infrastructure projects, such as the Commonwealth Games, for example, which was just a complete way to buy your vote. And then what happened? It ended up going to Scotland. That's one example. There's a myriad of those type of manipulative examples. Let me continue. So here's Perth with a beautiful parkland on top of this tunnel. Now you look at Alexandra Parade. You can look, in fact, here's a map. There's an aerial shot. It looks like, you don't have to be a town planner, and you can pretty easily see, whoa, hang on, it looks like there's a main arterial that needs to join up there, you know. Gee, like, been meaning to do that for a while. would have been good to, you know, relieved all that traffic, let Melburnians travel to and fro work faster, therefore being happier citizens, more productive workers, you know, all that type of modern progressive stuff. But it also would have been what? Less smog. Yeah, less smog, yeah, would have been, because there would have been more parkland, and there also would have been what? Oh, less cars running, because they would have been able to zoom straight through there, park, done, finished, job's done. Half an hour travel instead of an hour and a half, 2 hours travel, lots of smog, stop, start, smog, not, you get me? Okay, so there's that aspect. So there's Con Andrews, con man Andrews, scumbag Andrews, conned the Victorian public out of that. Complete barefaced lie, a barefaced lie, costing you, and not just costing you, it set the tone for his reign. Because what then happened is, they copped that, they'll cop anything, which set the tone for the plunder job that the next decade of outright plunder jobs that the Victorian public was going to be conned into. No, you'd be a racist if you said otherwise. Oh yeah, you would be a racist. If you didn't like that on Wurundjeri Mutabingi, you would be the biggest racist. You know, conned like that. Like just, oh, you're such a bad person if you question that. What you don't want, what you think of the penguins. Think of the penguins. Hey, Jacinta, this person wants the penguins to die. Can you believe it? This person said that by us not building the tunnel, he wants the penguins to die. Like that type of nonsense. Like, in effect, obviously I'm joking, but in that angle. What else they did though, and this is where from mine being home, I became a heroin addict, if you don't know, and the wheels fell off my life, so I've been in and out of prison, in and out of the law and order system for about a decade there. Prior to that, I was just a hard-working, normal person, busted my balls in full-time, 6-day-a-week jobs in the automotive industry from when I was 14. Like, very just standard, everyday person, bar I had a niggling heroin, on again, off again, heroin addiction, just waiting to pounce. It pounced. It took about 10 years of my life for me to get myself, mostly challenging the Victorian corrupt government, to be honest. Anyhow, so in that period, it made me a little bit of an expert. So what grinds my gears a lot now in this one is you have the tragedy that is the Gilmar. Beautiful Gilmar. Gilmar was horribly raped and murdered by a scumbag by the name of Adrian Bailey. Now Adrian, he was on both bail and parole at the same time. This is going back 14 years. Now Daniel Andrews, he came in promising he was going to shoot wonders and shit cucumbers. He was going to like solve everything and solve the law and order system, and he was bringing in the most expensively run GO Ravenhall with more clinicians than prison officers and all manner of sweeping changes. What we saw was a farce. We saw riots in remand prisons that started in the induction unit of a remand unit. If that doesn't spell mismanagement of a prison, nothing does. We saw outright just ridiculous nonsense. Never had more organised crime ever. Never had more illicit tobacco, fire bombs, people dying. But now, instead of like the nonsense that we saw in early 2000s with the Lawyer X, and then tragically the horrible rape and murder of Gilmar by a person on bail, we've seen kids. So still vulnerable segments of the community is my point. We've seen kids. And most recently, Danish. I hope I pronounced his name right. Who was killed by a person who had been bailed 4 days earlier. 4 days. Now that little quick drive cast, sorry if I sound a little bit, bit grumpy, bit peed off at this corrupt government, and particularly some segments of the corrupted, power-abusing law and order system, especially the left-wing lunatic magistrates. Sorry if I sound a little bit like, but that, ladies and gentlemen, just that little snippet there, that just me, just Michael Califf, an ex-heroin addict, petty, not bikey, not anything, just a normal bloke, wheels fell off my life, I got dragged into their system and stumbled across that little lesson. Now, if that isn't enough for you to wake up to this left wing, this corrupt government, I don't know. I just don't know. Anyway, have a great day. See you, Sammy.